Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the Big Movement Podcast. Today, we have Dobreva, who is a personal branding strategist and social media badass, as she likes to call herself, who provides people the tools they need to really discover their true passion and turn it into online business. So let's learn a little bit more how you can be able to do that and get your message out there. So, Des, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Sure, definitely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the world of branding, social media? Because everybody has a different story of how they got there.
Well, I've been in this world for, about 4 years now, and to be honest, 4 years ago, I never would have thought that this is where I would end up. I was studying economics, which was extremely boring to me. Some interesting aspects, but overall not my thing. And then I came to study in Denmark, brand management, which is basically all about branding and marketing. So I thought, okay, this seems interesting. And what happened was I joined a student organization where I was able to develop my skills and work for free because I believe that every professional has to start there. I mean, we can't just start charging premium prices for our services if we have never done this before, right? So I worked for a couple of years for free until I grew my skills, I grew my experience, my knowledge, and then I dove into the industry as a social media manager.
Oh, excellent. That must have been quite the adjustment to go to another country to study. Did you find that interesting or difficult?
Well, to be fair, before Denmark, I did go to Spain for about 6 months to study there as well. So that made it a bit easier for me. So I didn't really have the culture shock in Denmark. I did have it in Spain, though.
Oh, I can imagine, as every country is a little bit different.
Oh, yes, especially if you don't speak the language.
Right, that makes it challenging. You're just trying to use sign language to get the most simple thing. You said, like, what are you pointing at? I don't know.
That was my life for a few months.
Oh, wow. Well, at least it's improved dramatically since then. So what attracted you to brand management? Because to go from economics to brand management, that's quite the switch.
Yeah, and actually I did study a little bit of marketing in my economics bachelor degree, and that is what kind of told me, okay, this is the only interesting thing I've done in the past 3 years, so I gotta pursue this, and then I realized as I was looking through the master degrees in Denmark, I saw the one in brand management, and every single thing I read in the description just spoke to me. We would study famous brands and commercials and how they affect the consumer and why the consumer makes the choices that they make and stuff like that. And it was just really fascinating to me. It still is.
Right. That in itself, it's a fascinating topic because the messaging that we utilize can truly influence who decides to respond to a message that we put out there.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of psychology in branding, to be honest. I think that's something people don't really realize. They think it's only just about posting stuff on social media and changing people's perception, PR, all of that. But actually, PR is a very separate thing. And social media, yes, it is a large part of branding nowadays. I mean, it's 2017, but it wasn't always. Branding has always existed, even before social media.
Oh, definitely. Branding has been there since the moment that someone decided to put an ad in a newspaper ages ago.
Yeah, and we all have our own personal brands, whether we are managing them, whether we want to admit it or not. We do have a brand, and I think that's also something that many people don't realize. They think that just because they don't have an online business or any type of business based on their personal brand, they don't need to put any effort into it. And I think that's a wrong approach because even if you have a 9-to-5 job, just trying to get a job somewhere, trying to look good for a potential employer, you need to manage your brand, right? You need to manage what you post on social media, what you talk about, and all of that.
Right. As that makes a difference, because if you put out the wrong things, it can truly just harm you. You think about the number of people that have lost opportunities in jobs because of having the raunchy pictures posted on Facebook, or they're saying the wrong things on Twitter. You think about even just being on Twitter, of all the uproar lately of people that have lost jobs because they said the wrong thing on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
And because they're associated with a brand, next thing you know, they're now jobless.
Yeah, I've seen that happen quite a lot in America, for example.
Oh yes, it's kind of crazy. One person says one tweet and people lose their minds.
Yeah.
So when it comes to social media and branding, what should people be thinking about? Because some individuals out there who are not entrepreneurs might have that mindset of, well, why do I need to develop a brand? I just work for somebody else.
Yeah, I think what people need to realize is that, every single thing you do, that's your brand. That's how people are going to perceive you. Your brand is basically what people think about when you're not in the room, right? I think it was Jeff Bezos who actually said that a while ago. And it's so true. If people think of you as annoying, then that's your brand, and you definitely need to do something to change it. If every time people think of you, they think cat videos, which is, believe me, very often the case on Facebook, then you need to do something to change it, right? Because cat videos is not really a good way to brand yourself.
Right, exactly. It's the content you share really defines the audience that you attract.
Yeah, it's all about the content. And I believe that, of course, you can use certain social networks as a hobby and all that. You can post pictures from your family travels, or also cat videos or selfies, but ultimately you gotta be at least a little bit strategic about your social presence.
Now, what do you mean by strategic in your social presence? Because some people, I think, they might get lost with that concept, like, but I just post stuff.
Yeah. Well, every person does something, right? We all work, whether we like to or not, whether we love our jobs or not, we all work. And let's say someone has a 9-to-5 job and he loves it, right? One day he wants to evolve, move up the hierarchy, or work for a bigger brand. Then he can't just be over on Facebook posting cat videos all day, right? You need to work on your branding. And what I mean by being strategic with it, I mean go on LinkedIn. Start writing articles on LinkedIn posts and publishing them over there. It doesn't take more than a couple of hours per week to just come up with a couple of articles on the topic that you want to be known for, right? If you want to be the go-to person for HR, then start writing about HR. Don't just be posting cat videos or selfies all day. That's what I mean by being strategic about it.
Right. And that's something I think people don't understand is it doesn't take a large amount of time to write articles.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I still have a blog, to be honest. I am guilty of not writing there for about half a year now. But it really, if you make it your priority, you can write something, just 500 words in half an hour to an hour tops.
Oh, 500 words is so easy to do. You don't think about how short that is until you start writing it. Because if you think about the number of words you say per minute, if you were just to document that, it would only take you a couple minutes to spit out that many words.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought about that, but that is very true, especially those of us who talk super fast.
Then it might take about a minute and a half for you, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone else might take at least 3 to 5 minutes to get all those ideas out.
Yeah, for normal people, yes.
Right. So now, obviously, you have this diverse background when you're looking at the branding, the social media and such. What is it that you see most as you start working with people that they're lacking in the beginning?
I think many people suffer from the so-called imposter syndrome. If you've heard of that, there was an article in 2016, very good one, that described the imposter syndrome, which is, I think everybody suffers from that, even people like, Richard Branson or Elon Musk, everybody does. There are just times where we get up in the morning and we're like, oh, why do people even listen to me? What do I know about anything? And I think many people who are just starting out working on their brands, especially their personal brands, they have this feeling that, oh, but there's so many people that know so much more than me. So why is anybody gonna care about what I have to say? Why does anybody care about my message? And that's a huge mistake because first of all, none of us are competing with each other. That's how I like to think about. I don't have competitors because even if there are 100 people who have the same message as me, we're all different and we all have different ways and perspectives on it, different ways of sharing it with people, right? So that's something that I think everybody needs to realize.
Right. Oh, definitely. One of the things I tell people is it doesn't matter how many people are doing the same thing. That if you look at it, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Not a single person is going to help every single one with the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's also a great way to put it.
And then when you think about it, for you to have the business that you want, how many people do you really need to be working with? It doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands or millions of people. So for most people, it's just a handful. So you're talking about a fraction of a percent of the entire human population.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can all have thriving communities and there will still be space enough for everybody.
Right, exactly. And what another example that I like to use with people is they're thinking, especially in a crowded marketplace. I'll use someone like Tony Robbins as an example. And I would say to a person that you have someone that has impacted millions and millions of people's lives, yet every week I'll meet somebody that has never heard of the person.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that how big somebody is, there's still going to be people that will never have heard of an individual. So there's plenty of room out there.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, even if they have heard about him, maybe for sure not everybody wants to work with him because there is something that either puts them off or he doesn't do things the way you want to do things, stuff like that, So it's always just about looking for the right people to work with.
Right, exactly. You don't have to be everything to everybody because your goal is to be something special because you have a particular skill set. You don't want to discount it, so you're kind of like water. If everybody needs it, you don't want to be that person.
No, that's why I always tell people on every platform find your niche, and more than that, find your sub niche. Get really specific because that's the only way that the right people are going to find you.
Right, now expand upon the concept of a sub niche because I don't think very many people might have ever heard of the term before.
Okay, well, I can give you a great example actually because as I was working on my Instagram course, I was trying to educate people on the aspect of a niche and a sub niche. So I can give you a great example with Instagram. So for instance, on Instagram, if you have a niche, then okay, that's good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who finds you through your hashtags is going to care about your content because you can be a fitness instructor, then your niche is fitness, right? But your sub niche could be healthy recipes. That's a sub niche. It could be workout videos. That's a sub niche. It could be protein shakes. That's a sub niche. So that is the type of content that can go on your Instagram feed, right? And if you only have a sub niche fitness and you post all kinds of stuff, then you won't gather the people who only care about, let's say, healthy recipes. Stuff like that. And if you focus on your sub niche, then you know that you will only draw the right people in.
Right, and that is critical because you want to resonate with a particular need instead of just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Focus on a specific pain, as I like to say it. Try to help people with a very specific pain that they're experiencing.
Right, and pain is something that people want to move away from. So it's critical to create the right type of content that does that.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, obviously, with the whole branding and social media, which platforms do you find to be the most productive for the clients that you're working with?
It really depends because it's so individual based on your personal brand. Now, that I've had clients with Etsy shops, for example, handmade shops. For them, Pinterest is huge, absolutely huge. I've had people who get most of their traffic, most of their sales from Pinterest, and they've developed great brands over there. with hundreds of thousands of followers. And then when they go on Twitter, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. It's Twitter, 8 items, I think. I've had clients who, well, right now I'm working mostly with clients who are on Instagram. I'm kind of focusing on Instagram at the moment. So most of my clients are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I gotta say, those 3 platforms combined, for me and most of my clients, are all that we need to develop our personal brand.
Right. You don't have to be on every platform out there.
Oh God, no. That's very, I like to call it platform overwhelm, because honestly, especially lately with everybody copying Snapchat, like Facebook introducing Facebook stories, Messenger, they're becoming clones of each other, and it's how many places can you tell your story in? You have to provide different content for every platform to not ruin that sense of exclusivity that your audience craves. So it's becoming very, very tough to be everywhere.
Exactly. You have to decide where you want to be at.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can end up spending a lot of time on platforms that doesn't really help you.
Yeah, like for example, I used to be on Snapchat all the time, and then I have about 500-600 followers over there, but I wasn't seeing as much engagement as I was seeing from Facebook or Instagram. So I'm still over there, just not daily, because producing content daily for each platform it's a pain in the ass, honestly.
Oh, totally. I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
If you think about the environment on each platform, they're all different. So the last thing you want to do is spend a couple hours to create content for Pinterest, more content for Instagram, more content for Twitter, more for Facebook.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you just spent half of your day just creating content for each platform.
That can absolutely happen. I've had it happen to me many times in the beginning when I was still testing, because in the beginning it is crucial to test everything out, right? To find out where your audience is, which platforms you like the most and all that. So I was literally everywhere all the time. That was very, very hard for a few weeks.
Right, and it's an adjustment you have to go through to get to where you're only focused on those few platforms and realize that you're not going to be missing out on people. You're going to be in front of the people that are meant to hear your message.
Yeah, exactly. But that feeling of FOMO, the fear of missing out, it's so big. Every time a new platform comes along, it's just, the FOMO is big. It's absolutely real, and I used to feel it all the time. When Snapchat came along, it was mostly for fear of missing out that I joined. And yeah, I've had some cool things happen to me from Snapchat, some collaborations, but ultimately it's not my place. Instagram and Facebook are definitely my place.
Right. I think people truly get confused by the whole FOMO concept, because they think that one client is going to see them there, and realize that it's about the depth you build on a platform, not how many platforms you can spread yourself across on.
Yeah, it's never about the numbers. I understand FOMO, but ultimately you have to think about your audience, not about yourself and your fear of missing out on 1 or 2 clients when all of the other people who care about your content are on a totally different platform.
Exactly. It doesn't help you to be on a platform that your ideal clients are not on.
Yeah. If it's fun for you, you can do it as a hobby, sure, but when it comes to business, you can't really afford to waste time on irrelevant things and platforms.
Oh, exactly. You have 24 hours each day, so you have to be particular on how you spend them.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, it becomes that never-ending hamster wheel. and that doesn't help. You're like, oh, look, you're not getting anywhere.
I also wish there were more than 24 hours in a day, but unfortunately, that's what we gotta deal with.
It would be something that even if we had more than 24 hours, we would still be wanting I need more time.
Yeah, you have a point, actually. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with me.
You just gotta fill it up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a passion for Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want to only focus my attention on one platform, but I just saw the huge potential in Instagram. I mean, just last year it had over 500 million people on it, and that is crazy. And especially since Facebook bought it, it's becoming better and better for business. And there's this myth about Instagram that it's not a good platform for selling. So I really want to kind of break that myth, and kind of show people that there is a way to sell on Instagram. I've done it myself plenty of times. You just need to be very creative with it. You need to make it fun for people. Otherwise, they won't buy anything from you.
Right. So what do you mean by creative and fun for people to buy from you?
Mm-hmm. I can give you an example. I had this promotion running on my one-on-one Instagram strategy sessions that I do with people. I was running them for $99, and I thought, okay, let's promote my Instagram session on Instagram, right? So I went on Instagram stories, and I thought I'm gonna use these as my canvas, basically. So I started drawing. I made photos out of them, and I started drawing and taking pictures. And what I did was I told a story of what people go through when they have absolutely no idea what to do on Instagram. So I recreated the awkward selfies, how we post content, and when we get no engagement, we delete it and post it again just to get no engagement again. Stuff like that. And then in the end, I mentioned my session, my one-on-one session. And it was great because within half an hour, I had about 10 people contact me about it because they had fun with it. And most importantly, it created urgency because it was limited. And of course, it was a creative way to relate to them. And they really appreciate that.
That's definitely a creative way of using the platform.
Yeah.
As I don't think very many people think about using the Instagram stories in that fashion.
No, not at all. That's why I created my course, and also Instagram Live. It's so new. And to be honest, it's so new that people don't know what to do with it yet because it's a bit different than the other live streaming tools. It's different than Periscope, Facebook Live because there are no replays. Once your live stream is over, it's just done. And also you cannot share it and stuff like that. So people are thinking, can I really use this for anything rather than just chatting to people? But the truth is you absolutely can. I had about 3 people buy my course from an Instagram Live while I was talking to them about it. So it definitely works. You cannot be salesy. You need to be honest with people. You need to start right away by telling them, okay, I want to talk to you today about something I'm selling. You can't just be trying to trick them and just mention it some way in the end. That's not how I do it, at least. I'm always transparent.
Well, being transparent is it's important because people are beginning to get tired of the bait and switch tactics that have been used over the years.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. I still see them everywhere, and it really annoys me. I see the clickbait titles of stuff. I see people getting you to jump through 1,000 hoops until you learn the price of a course or a program. That's very annoying. I prefer to do it straight up. I mean, of course, there are certain tactics and strategies in selling and marketing that help you. But all I'm saying is you don't have to try and make people to do something they ultimately don't want to do.
Right. As when you do that, that ultimately results in people wanting their money back.
Yeah. I mean, I was a witness to a case like this just a couple of weeks ago where someone was doing very questionable things with his online course about social media, and what happened was a bunch of people heard about what they were doing, their reputation got tarnished, and they immediately asked for refunds because also the content was not what was promised. So that's what's gonna happen.
Right. It's just a matter of time before more and more people they get tired of the rehashed content that people are packaging out there. It's nothing that's unique.
Absolutely. So few. I mean, to be honest, I'm not one of these people who are gonna tell you, oh, buy my Instagram course to hear the secret of selling and the secret of having 100,000 followers. I hate that because, to be honest, most of the courses, in fact, all of the courses we create don't have any secrets in them. It's just things that we've discovered, and most of these things you can find online. But what we actually provide is comfort because people can go through it in a structured way and it's gonna make sense to them. Otherwise, they need to spend tons of time researching every single thing online, like I used to do. And I don't think that any of us have the secrets to whatever it is that we're selling.
Exactly. If you spend enough time researching, you will find the answers. It's just a matter of what do you value more? Your time? Do you spend hours and hours figuring it out? Or do you just hire someone like you to tell you exactly what to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to be one of the people who researched every single thing because there's just such a lack of genuine resources online. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of contradicting information about every single thing because, hello, it's the internet. And also, people are always trying to get you to grow in these inauthentic ways, like buying followers or using these follow-and-follow methods and stuff like that. And I just try to stay away from all of this and try to get people to grow authentically.
Right. So what's your take on people growing followers? What's really the best way to do it?
Well, I've been researching buying followers a lot over the last 6 months when I started doing my Instagram research for this course. And what I found out was that, I mean, you're not going to believe this, but 99% probably of the Instagram influencers, of the celebrities, of the politicians, they all buy followers. All of them. It's crazy because it's so easy to do, and these services have become so sophisticated, some of them, because the algorithm of different social platforms, they usually can tell when you bought followers because, okay, today you have 1,000, tomorrow you have 50,000. That's weird, right? But now the new systems, they've become more sophisticated, so it's very difficult to tell. But for me, it's not difficult at all because I can see when someone has grown a community and when someone just has random people commenting here and there, liking some photos and stuff like that. You can really tell when someone has people who care about his content, who would follow them anywhere, or just random people who came from somewhere and for some reason stayed.
Right. I think there's very few people out there that have the influence who, if they weren't on Instagram today and they just joined it, they could go from, let's say, 0 followers to 100,000 and totally normal.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're Selena Gomez, then that's probably not gonna happen.
Right, exactly. You're talking about a handful of people that could do that.
Yeah, and my question would be, if you're not a celebrity, why would you even want to do that? Don't you prefer growing slowly, but getting people who care about you, who would buy everything you sell just because they trust you, who really value your opinion, who would recommend you to all of their friends? Because that's what I'm trying to grow, and that's why I'm growing much slower than a lot of the other Instagram influencers who already have millions of followers.
Right. It's more important to build a quality followership than just mass quantity.
Absolutely.
As I see people doing that on different platforms, they look at that follower number as it's a vanity number to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the worst thing is that businesses who hire people for influencer marketing, like they approach influencers, they always care about numbers, and that is really, really annoying to me because I've seen many companies get screwed over because of their belief in numbers and in vanity metrics. Because honestly, it is a vanity metric ultimately. I've seen companies get someone with 2 million followers on Instagram to promote a product for them because, I mean, come on, 2 million followers, you have a loyal community, right? People would buy if you recommend something. But guess what? They barely got any sales from the discount code that they got and the dress that they were selling because nobody cares about their content and their recommendations.
Exactly. It's better to take the time to build up the right followers. So then when you do it, you can generate the sales versus just having a large set of numbers that there's nothing.
Yeah, I think everyone is just in this big hurry to become an influencer, even people who are trying to build businesses. And in that case, I would say, why don't you focus on your business first and then don't even focus on becoming an influencer. That will happen if you're authentic and if you just keep growing and scaling up your business. It will just happen.
Exactly. I think a great example of building up your influence and taking time but doing it properly is looking at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because you think about it, when he started doing the videos for Wine Library back in the 90s when nobody would watch them. And just kept doing it, and over time, it built up.
Yeah, and he has always been so authentic. He has always told it exactly like it is to this day. Even though he's big now, he's not afraid to talk about his struggles. He's not afraid to be honest with people, and that is what I want. If I was a business doing influencer marketing, for example, I wouldn't want to hire someone who just has 10 million followers. I would much prefer someone with 2,000 followers who's big in their own community, like let's say a local community. When I used to have 2,000 followers on Instagram, I was already getting sponsorships.
And that's more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. But many people don't think they can do that. And that's a mistake because they're always thinking, oh no, I need to grow, I need to get this many followers, this many likes on my photos, and that's just such a wrong way to approach it.
Right. So when you're looking at content on Instagram, for people to truly grow their following, how much content should they be posting on a daily basis?
With Instagram, I mean, of course, there's no perfect piece of advice for that, but my advice would be you cannot afford to miss a day. You always need to be present, whether it's an Instagram story, whether you're live streaming or just posting something on your feed. Instagram is such a platform that if you go missing, if you go MIA even for one day, many people won't come back to check out your content. And the algorithm, since they changed it in 2016, it works in such a way that if you get someone to interact with your content just one time, they will keep seeing your content. The algorithm will make sure of that. So if you're not present every day, you're missing out on the opportunity to get someone new to notice you and to maybe get a loyal follower.
Now that's interesting. Because you hear people say different things from the amount of content instead of at the core of it being consistent.
No, consistency is always key. I mean, I found that out myself because in the beginning I wasn't consistent at all with my social media efforts. I wasn't strategic either, so my brand was very distorted. And when I started on Instagram, I had no idea what to do. I was posting selfies, I was posting my food like most people do, and after a while I disappeared for about a week or 10 days. And when I came back, I had lost half of my followers, which weren't many to start with. And people were just not coming back to check out what I'm doing because they lost interest.
So then when you came back to Instagram, what were you posting?
I think that was the time when I started finally researching what I should start doing, and when I finally decided, okay, this platform is interesting enough, let's do something different. And I was traveling a lot. I mean, I'm a huge travel enthusiast. I travel all the time. So I thought, okay, let's enter the travel niche. Okay, I want to ultimately get sponsored with accommodation, stuff like that, free trips, free food, everything in the travel industry. So I started doing that. And after a while, let's say after I got something like 5,000 followers, it finally started happening. Because yes, ultimately followers only matter for businesses to notice you. So they did start noticing me, but only after I became absolutely consistent with my niche.
Now that's interesting then. So when you were focused just on like traveling and you had that specific purpose, you then truly began to attract a followership.
Yeah, absolutely. And to this day, I'm still in that niche. I have changed my content a little bit, but ultimately it's all about traveling and business. So I cater to entrepreneurs who love traveling, basically. So I post beautiful travel photos, but the caption and the text overlay on each photo is a tip for entrepreneurs. So that is my sub niche.
Now that's a great way to combine it.
Yeah, it was hard, honestly, because some of us just have so many interests and so many passions. I like to call ourselves multi-passionate entrepreneurs, right? That we have no idea what to do. We want to do this and this and this. I have a client right now. She's doing so many things at the same time, and she's been successful in all of them. But she's becoming overwhelmed, and she has no idea how to proceed. So I'm trying to help her discover what it is that she truly loves doing and that she would keep doing for the rest of her life. That is the toughest thing that all of us need to figure out, basically.
Oh yes, it can be a challenge to narrow things down to that point.
Yeah, it was for me, definitely.
So with focusing on two different niches, traveling and entrepreneurs, have you found just putting the overlays on your travel pictures to be the best way to combine them?
Yeah, you would be surprised how much that works. Honestly, I started doing that just a few months ago, and I've seen such a big difference in my followers on Instagram, because I'm only doing this on Instagram. I don't really talk about traveling that much on other platforms. And I started attracting a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of consultants, a lot of people in the marketing industry, in the social media industry, and it's really making a difference because I can see that they are responding to my content. What I like to do is I write long form captions to see who's actually reading them and see who isn't. And you would be surprised that since I started using the text overlays, everybody who comments seems to be reading the captions. And that is a very interesting thing because you know how our attention span is these days. People don't like to read more than 5 sentences usually.
Right. What would you consider a long-form caption on Instagram?
Well, what I do is the captions I write, I never pre-plan them. I never schedule them in advance. So exactly what I'm feeling in the moment, I write it. And it usually is about, let's say, 10 to 15 sentences. I either tell a story or I share an experience, something that has happened to me. And I manage to spin it so that I turn it into a piece of advice for entrepreneurs.
And what type of comments do you receive from it?
Well, some of them inevitably are comments from these automation services that people use. Right. Unfortunately. But since I started calling them out, they have diminished a lot. Other than that, I have my community on Instagram. And they usually, what they do is they start a discussion. So I'm having lots of discussions in my comment section, which I think is really cool. Like people are tagging each other, asking each other, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, I think you really need to hear this today, so this is for you. Stuff like that.
Oh, that's great. It's interesting how you mentioned you had to call out the people using automation software.
Oh, yeah. I love that. It's so annoying.
Oh, totally. I can remember looking at, I don't remember who posted something, but it was something that they were like having a hard time. It was like a sad type of post.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the hashtags put there with the automation software, you have one of those comments, I love this so much, this is amazing.
Oh my god, that happens way too often. I get it on my photos, like these past 2 days, I changed it up a little bit and I posted 3 photos promoting my Instagram course by providing people with some help with their hashtags and stuff like that, because it's always provide value first, sell second, right? And what I got was, for example, one of my posts was, hey, are your hashtags bringing enough engagement? And then there was someone in the comment section saying, oh my god, this is the most beautiful photo I've seen today. It was basically just text, nothing else. So yeah.
Yeah. You have to love it.
I
So
mean, it
speaking of
ruins. Yeah.
oh, go ahead. Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it completely ruins your reputation because honestly, I remember the people who leave these types of comments because they keep doing it over and over again because they find me through a hashtag that I'm using. So there's this guy, for example, he has an account with 100,000 followers, and he always leaves me the same comment, the heart emoji. I have that on every single photo from him, and I can see that it's the automation service, So from now on, if someone asks me about this person, because he's in business as well, I would not recommend him because I don't think he has integrity, right? So it definitely ruins your reputation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. To me, I look at it as it's more authentic to leave a real comment. Spend 15 minutes and go through and actually say what you feel.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time at all.
So now with hashtags, what are your thoughts about people finding the best ones? Because you see the ones that people want to use, like the big popular ones, because they're just trying to get as much traction.
Yeah. Well, there used to be these, well, they still exist. There are these hashtags like follow for follow or insta follow, stuff like that. Instagram started banning some of them, but unfortunately people still use them. It's a very bad strategy because you get a lot of random people. In fact, all you get are random people who are exactly the same as you because they're using the same inauthentic way to grow, right? So I'm completely against that, and I think fewer and fewer people are starting to do that, which is good. But afterwards, I think that many people think that they should use the most popular hashtags ever, and that will bring them tons of engagement. But the truth is, if you use a hashtag that has been used, let's say, 2 million times, your content will just get lost there because people are posting using this hashtag every single second of every single day. So what I usually advise my community is find hashtags that have been used between 50,000 and let's say 500,000 times. That is if you already have built a following and if you're super consistent, you post every day. Then your content will not get lost and you have a huge chance of getting discovered by someone.
Right. Definitely. That's a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
As it doesn't make any sense to use hashtags that have millions and millions of people using it, but then you get drowned out.
It sounds simple, right? But to be honest, most people don't really think about it that way because I think not everyone understands how hashtags work yet, at least, yeah, not on Instagram. And they don't even see the little number under each hashtag that shows you how many times it has been used. So that's probably why.
Right. So what's a great way for people to find hashtags that are worth using instead of them just assuming that one will be a good one?
Well, I have a couple of steps for that, but the most important one for me is do a competitor analysis, right? So find other people in the industry who are doing the same as you, and then check out their hashtags. Check out what's working for them and what's not, go through all of the hashtags, and see how many of them have been used 50,000 times, 5 million times, and just take the ones that would work for you as well. And then step 2, because that won't get you 30 hashtags. Step 2, just go into the search bar on the Explore tab in Instagram and start typing things connected to your business. And I always tell them, be creative. Like if you're running a marketing business, then write stuff like, promotion tactics, something like that. That's actually a pretty good hashtag. I think I saw it yesterday. And one of my clients just a couple of weeks ago, she got a list of 30 hashtags in just under an hour. So it really doesn't take that long of a time since you're going to be using them every single day afterwards. Just copy paste them.
Right. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single day.
No.
As those are great tips for people to utilize to improve their Instagram performance.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, many people think also that when they find their 30 hashtags, I saw people who type them manually into Instagram every single time they post, and that takes ages because you don't have to do that. You can either keep them in your notes, some people do that, but I also find that a little bit of a time waster because you need to copy, paste, and open Instagram. What I do is I just download an app that can store all my hashtags and where I can create new lists of hashtags, like I think it's called Instag or Instatag, something like that. You can just copy the hashtags there, open Instagram straight from the app, and just paste them in your comment section in 5 seconds.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, it's much
As you want to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Super simple process. It shouldn't take you more than a minute to post a photo on Instagram.
Right. No, definitely. So what is one thing that you would recommend people to do to improve their performance of how their brand is showing up every day in the marketplace?
Let's see. I would say, again, the consistency thing, right? Because don't underestimate consistency. If you want to be known as the go-to person for social media, talk about the industry. Talk about Facebook stories. Talk about whether Facebook stories will be the end of Snapchat. You know, if you're in the HR, talk about new tactics to draw the right employees in. If you're in corporate training, talk about creative games that you can implement in corporate training, stuff like that. But make sure you talk about your industry at least 60% of the time. You can leave out 40% for whatever it is you want to talk about, whether it's cat videos or whatever, but 60% leave it to use it strategically.
Oh, excellent. That's extremely valuable to make sure that you're consistent and you're sharing content that matters to people.
Yeah, exactly.
So how can people learn more about you and reach out to you to help them with Instagram and also for just their branding in general?
Yeah, I think the best and easiest way to go would just be to join my free community on Facebook. It's called Social Media Badass Academy. We're about 300 people there now, and we talk about everything social media.
Okay, great. I'll make sure I include that. Link there for people to do that.
Yeah, all they need to do is just request to join, and then we can book private sessions. We can talk in the group. Like, the community is very engaged and very supportive, so if they need help with anything, they can brainstorm together with me and the rest of us.
Oh, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for coming onto the Big Movement podcast today and sharing your wealth of wisdom about branding and Instagram.
Thanks for having me. I've been wanting to talk about branding for ages. Lately, it's only been about Instagram and not, looking at the bigger picture, so this was very refreshing for me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.